you, but I want to vote for this Joe the Plumber guy. Good evening. This is Wednesday, October 15th, 20 days until the 2008 presidential election, and moments after the third presidential debate, where our first results from uncommitted voters are in, and once again, they are overwhelmingly in favor of Senator Obama as the winner of the debate. A CBS poll of uncommitted voters coming out just moments ago suggesting that Obama was viewed as the winner by 53%, 24% thought it was a tie among the uncommitteds, and 22% thought Senator McCain won. If the Palin-Biden matchup at the start of this month was the Joe six-pack debate, the third and final meeting tonight between Senators Obama and McCain was about Joe the Plumber, also William Ayers and Congressman John Lewis. Our fifth story on this special post-debate edition of Countdown, Senator McCain answering the question of whether he would repeat the most negative attacks of his campaign to Obama's face by repeating the most negative attacks of his campaign to Obama's face. Forget the idea heading in that a sit-down format would lead to a chattier, friendlier exchange. Tonight's debate was tough, it was personal, and for no one was it more personal than Joe Wurzelbacher. McCain called him, erroneously, Wurzelberger. Henceforth, he's known to everybody in the nation as Joe the Plumber. Outside Toledo on Sunday, Mr. Wurzelbacher having approached Senator Obama to ask him about his tax plan, especially how it relates to small businesses. Senator McCain spent the entirety of tonight's debate addressing nearly all of his remarks on taxes and everything else to Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber. Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
We're talking about Joe the Plumber.
Joe, you're rich. Congratulations. Now, Joe, you're rich. Congratulations.
That includes you, Joe.
All right. I want, Joe, you to do the job.
And I'm happy to talk to you, Joe, too, if you're out there.
As we mentioned, the other big name of the night, William Ayers. Yes, Senator McCain went there, the Republican nominee, claiming the tone of his campaign could have been very different if Senator Obama had merely agreed to his request to a series of joint town hall meetings. In other words, Ayers, Acorn, and palling around with terrorists, Senator Obama had it coming. We begin with the Democrats' response.
When people suggest that I pal around with terrorists, then we're not talking about issues. What we're talking about are...
Does he let me just say categorically, I'm proud of the people that come to our rallies. Mr. Ayers, I don't care about an old washed-up terrorist, but as Senator Clinton said in her debates with you, we need to know the full extent of that relationship. We need to know the full extent of Senator Obama's relationship with Acorn, who is now on the verge of maybe perpetrating one of the greatest frauds in voter history in this country, maybe destroying a fabric of democracy.
In a campaign that has become about guilt by association, Obama talking about who he actually associates with.
The reason I think that it's important to just get these facts out is because the allegation that Senator McCain's continually made is that somehow my associations are troubling. Let me tell you who I associate with. On economic policy, I associate with Warren Buffett and former Fed Chairman Paul Volcker. If I'm interested in figuring out my foreign policy, I associate myself with my running mate Joe Biden or with Dick Lugar, the Republican ranking member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, or General Jim Jones, the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. Those are the people, Democrats and Republicans, who have shaped my ideas and who will be surrounding me in the White House. And I think the fact that this has become such an important part of your campaign, Senator McCain, says more about your campaign than it says about me.
Senator McCain trying to downplay any association between himself and an associate named President Bush, and effectively so.
Senator Obama, I am not President Bush. If you wanted to run against President Bush, you should have run 4 years ago.
Meantime, Senator McCain called his own running mate, Governor Palin, a, quote, breath of fresh air. Senator Obama pivoting on an exchange about Governor Palin and special needs and turning it into a question about funding and funding freezes.
I think it's very commendable, the work she's done on behalf of special needs. I agree with that, John. I do want to just point out that autism, for example, or other special needs, will require some additional funding if we're going to get serious in terms of research. That is something that every family that advocates on behalf of disabled children talk about. And if we have a across-the-board spending freeze, we're not going to be able to do it.
Joining me now from Hofstra University in Hempstead, the site of this final of the 49 presidential debates of the last 2 years, a man who's been in, I think, every one of them, Howard Fineman of Newsweek and MSNBC. Good evening again, Howard.
Let's have those 10 town hall debates, Keith. Come on.
That's a good idea. More. Setting aside for a moment the draft Joe the Plumber movement that will no doubt spring up tomorrow. Yes. The key tonight, I thought, in terms of strategy in a debate, Obama essentially introduced, almost demanded that McCain address the heirs topic and Acorn. Did this put McCain indeed on the defense? Did it kind of neutralize the issue?
That's all right.
Well, I thought that was a brilliant move by Obama. I think we were right before the debate. We were saying that that McCain was basically going to back up, the front-end loader and dump everything out there. It was a whole freight train's worth of stuff. But Obama was ready for it. And that was very shrewd because that forced McCain to concede right off the bat that he didn't care about some washed-up terrorist, which kind of undercut a lot of the rest of what he had to say. And I thought Obama gave his answer. He gave it pretty clearly and forcefully. I must say, most of the American people don't care about William Ayers, and they don't care about Acorn. They hadn't ever heard of Acorn at all. Most of the American people still don't know what Acorn is. And John McCain described it, what was it, as out to perhaps destroy the fabric of democracy. Who knew? Who knew? And so that was not McCain's strongest attack. What McCain did here tonight that the Republicans were pleased about, the Republican faithful, was that he attacked Obama ideologically on every point, saying that Obama was for big government, that Obama was for raising taxes, that Obama basically was a reincarnation of every big spending liberal Democrat in history. There are two problems with that. Number one, it doesn't necessarily comport with Obama's record. And number two, the American people don't seem to want another ideologue right now. They had one with George Bush for 8 years. They don't seem to want that. Obama was a study in shades of gray and calm contrast to McCain, and that seems to be what people are supporting, which is why these dial groups and these early snap polls after the debates always show Obama winning. It's not just his tone, it's that he says, we can do a little of both. We have to prioritize. We have to be careful. It's that kind of careful and calm consideration that the American people seem to like. And even though McCain was scoring ideological points that thrilled his base, and they're happy, they're saying, where was this McCain months ago? Not only is it too late, but it doesn't seem to be the kind of thing that the American people want right now.
McCain's moment, I thought, in this obviously was the set piece about not being Bush. It was very effective, but there were other set pieces that he reached for and kind of stumbled. And most importantly, as we discussed beforehand, whereas he may have presented himself as a largely different McCain, and I think that the base that saw and energized McCain was right. Unfortunately for him, it was the same Obama, and that maybe this last test. If Obama could not be flapped by either John McCain, that was pretty much the stamp of approval.
He kept his cool. Obama did. There was only one little glimmer of anger there and you played the clip where Obama said, "Your tactics, Senator, basically say more about you than they say about me." And if you're watching carefully, there was a slight note of anger there. But by the way, on the Bush exchange, David Axelrod, the chief Obama strategist who came running in here, was delighted with that, because then Obama came back and said, well, excuse me, if I mistake you for George Bush, it's because your economic policies are exactly like George Bush's. In the Obama camp's estimation, that was a home run for them. The second half of that exchange they thought was really terrific and helped them. They're going to stand on the relationship between Bush and McCain's going to stand on the relationship between Obama and taxes. That's the rest of the election.
Howard Fineman of Newsweek and MSNBC with the first read from the debate site. Thanks as always, Howard. Very well done.